When managers are passing their responsibilities to subordinates, they also pass some of the authority to the subordinate. But whenever you are giving your work to subordinates to complete, आप part of the responsibility share करो, then you need to give them the authority to take decision also. But the most important thing over here is authority matching to responsibility should only be delegated. This we have done in the principle of authority and responsibility also in chapter number 2. That whatever you are going to delegate, it should match with the responsibility also. They should not pass all authority to subordinates. Superiors को अपनी सारी decision making अपने subordinates को hand over करने की जरूरत नहीं होती. They should keep some powers with them also, and they should transfer some powers to the subordinates. Then comes features of authority. Authority arises or originates from an individual position. First of all, it refers to right to take decision. It determines superior-subordinate relationship. It is restricted by law, rules and regulations. Whatever the rules and regulations of organization will be there, we are supposed to follow that also. It arises from scalar chain. Yes, we have to follow scalar chain in this case. Authority flows from downward, from superior to subordinate. Superior gives authority to the subordinate, and it must be equal to responsibility. Authority should match with the responsibility. These are the features of authority. Then comes accountability. What is accountability? Accountability means subordinates will be answerable for the non-completion of task, that they are now answerable. If work will not be completed, subordinates will answer that why the work is not completed. It is the third and the last step in the delegation process. And always remember, accountability can never be passed or delegated. It follows the principle of absoluteness, and it can only be shared. हम share कर सकते हैं, हम completely delegate नहीं कर सकते. And for explaining this, बच्चे, you can again write down the example that I have earlier told you. Then comes the features of accountability. First is answerable for the final output. This accountability means the subordinate is answerable for the final output. It cannot be delegated or passed. It can be shared only. It is enforced through regular feedback. हम कैसे आंसर लेते हैं अपने subordinate से? By regular feedback from them. And it flows upward. That means subordinate is accountable to his superior. So these were the features of accountability, and there were the three elements of delegation process: responsibility, authority, and accountability. Now we are going to discuss difference between these terms. First is meaning. Responsibility and accountability. Responsibility means all physical and mental activities that are required to perform achieve the organizational objective. And accountability means answerability to complete the job or meet the responsibilities. Delegation. Responsibility cannot be entirely delegated. Part of the responsibility can be delegated. And accountability can never be delegated. It can be shared only. Flow of direction, bache, this is that both flow upward. This is for your knowledge only. Responsibility also flows upward. Accountability also flows upward. Then comes difference between authority and responsibility. What is meaning of authority and responsibility? Authority is the power or right to take the decision, and responsibility is the duty to complete tasks to be completed. Origin. Authority arises because of formal position in the organization. Because your superior subordinate relationship is there, that is why authority is arising. And responsibility also arises because of superior subordinate relationship. You can also write down here that responsibility arises from delegation of authority. What does this mean, बच्चे? जब आपने whenever superior के पास ये right है, authority है, that he can give some of his work to his subordinate, that is why we are saying that responsibility arises from delegation of authority. Direction of flow. Authority flows downward and responsibility flows upward. Delegation. Authority can be delegated. Responsibility cannot be fully delegated. Then a comparative study of all the three elements. Meaning, authority, responsibility, and accountability. Meaning, it is power to take decision. Responsibility is obligation to perform a task. Accountability is answerable for the output of assigned task. Delegation. Authority can be delegated. Responsibility cannot be fully delegated. Accountability can never be delegated. Origin arises from formal position, that is authority. Arises from authority, that is responsibility. I have already told you this point earlier also. Because superior is having the right, superior has full authority with him to give his work to his subordinate, so it arises from the authority of the superior. Accountability arises from responsibility. And flow of direction. Authority flows downward, responsibility and accountability flows upward. Then comes relationship between authority, responsibility and accountability. First is authority is delegated. Authority आप delegate करते हो. Responsibility assume की जाती है and answerability imposed की जाती है. अगर आपको work मिल गया तो you are answerable. आपको थोपी जाती है. Now you are answerable, right? Then responsibility derived from authority, accountability derived from responsibility. This is the relation between these three terms. Then comes importance of delegation. First point of importance is effective management. Because of delegation process, manager passes the routine work to subordinates and they are free to concentrate on the other important matter. So while concentrating on important matters, it leads to effective management. Then employees development. Because employee get better opportunities to utilize their talent, they develop many skills while performing the complex task, and there is development of employees. Motivation of employees. Whenever work is given to the subordinates, they feel that company is considering us a part of the organization, companies trusting us. So this feeling of belongingness and trust among the subordinates, it motivates them. Facilitates organizational growth. In the process of delegation, whenever the managers passes their responsibility and authority to subordinates, they keep in mind qualification and capabilities of subordinate. Work is divided on the basis of their capabilities of the subordinates. So it leads to division of work and specialization के benefits हम सारे gain करते हैं इसमें. So it will lead to growth of the organization. Basis of management hierarchy. Delegation establishes superior subordinate relationship. Who is answerable to whom, who is having the power, who will report, who will give orders, everything will be made clear in delegation. Better coordination. There will be no duplication of work, clarity in the duties, clarity in the responsibilities, reporting relationships are clear. It will lead to better coordination among employees. Reduces the workload of manager. In the process of delegation, managers are allowed to share their responsibilities and work with the subordinates. What will happen there? It will help in reducing the workload of the managers. Managers can pass the routine work to the subordinates and they can focus on the important work. This is the importance of delegation. The points are again, I am repeating: effective management, employees development, motivation of employees, facilitate organizational growth, basis of management hierarchy, better coordination, and reduces the workload of managers. Then comes last topic of the chapter, centralization and decentralization. Centralization. What is centralization? Centralization means concentration of authority or power in the few hands, that is top level. It means concentration of power. Whenever in an organization decision making authority is in the hand of top level management only, that means that is centralization. What is decentralization? Even and systematic distribution of authority at every level of management. Whenever we are dividing the work in each and every level of the organization, this is known as decentralization. Under decentralization, every employee working at different levels gets some share in the authority. Whosoever person is working in the organization, they will get some work to be done. They will get some authorities to be completed. So that means we are dividing the work among the subordinate. Decentralization is a policy matter. That means it depends upon the policies of the company, depends upon the manager's decision whether they want to follow the centralization or they want to follow the decentralization policy. Sometimes company follows a mixture of these policies. That means company combination follow करती है बच्चे, a combination of centralization and decentralization in which the company keeps the important matters with the top level management. Top management handle करती है all the important decision like financing decision इनको deal करती है, and the common routine decisions are left on the अदर लेवल्स. बाकी रूटीन वर्किंग रूटीन डिसीजंस हम किस पे लीव कर देते हैं? अदर लेवल्स के ऊपर. सो समटाइम्स कंपनी फॉलोज the combination of these two terms, centralization and decentralization, and we have done this in the principle of management also, the principle of centralization and decentralization, जिसमें हमने ये पढ़ा था there should be balance between these two terms. Then comes features of decentralization. First feature is much more than mere transfer of authority to lower levels. It is not only transferring the authority, it is that we are trusting our employees, we are developing a bond with our employees. It is selective dispersal of authority, matlab according to the levels of management we are distributing the work among the subordinate. It shows the belief that people are competent, capable and resourceful. Whenever we are dividing the work among the subordinates, it means we are trusting them. कि they are competent, they can complete the work, they are capable, they will give us better results. It assumes employees can take responsibility for effective implementation of their decision. When we are decentralizing, we are following decentralization policy, हम ये भी मान के चलते हैं बच्चे कि employees जो हैं capable हैं, they will take the responsibility, they will complete the work on time. Recognizes the need for authority for decision making. Decentralization में हम ये भी feel करते हैं कि whenever we give responsibility to subordinate, they feel the need of decision making also, we are giving the authority to them also. And selects which decision to be pushed down to lower level and which to be retained at higher level. In decentralization, we decide what kind of decisions are to be handled by the top level management and what kind of decisions are to be given to the subordinates. And always keep in mind बच्चे, delegation में आप अपने immediate subordinate को transfer करते हो, and in case of decentralization you will pass on the orders to all the levels of the management, right? Then comes relation between delegation and decentralization. First term, learn this term properly. ये बच्चे separate question भी इसके ऊपर आ सकता है कि decentralization is extension of delegation. In delegation, we multiply the authority with 2. That means we give authority, divide the work among 2 people only. Whereas in decentralization, the authority is multiplied with many. You can see in this diagram. Like in the right hand side, the director production head is there. Director will give the work to production head. He will not go beyond him. Then the production head will give the work to production manager. Production manager will give the work to supervisor. Supervisor will give the work to foreman. Foreman will give the work to machine operator. This is all delegation. ये सब बच्चे delegation है जब आप 2 persons के बीच में work को divide करते हो. And when the director will divide the work among production head, production manager, supervisor, foreman, machine operator, this is the process of decentralization. And you can read the example in your book, the same example they have given. I have explained you diagrammatically, they have written in words also. Kindly read the example and write accordingly. This question can come in 4 marks also, 5 marks also, 3 marks also. That in delegation, we multiply the authority with 2, we are dividing the work among 2 people only, the superior is giving the work to his immediate subordinate only. And in decentralization, the authority is multiplied with many, the one person is dividing the work to many employees working in the organization. The second point says delegation is necessary in every organization and decentralization is optional. That delegation is necessary. One single person cannot perform all the work in the organization, so he need to divide his work with his subordinate. And in case of decentralization, it is optional. It depends upon you whether you want to share the work with your own immediate subordinate or you want to divide the work with all of your subordinates. So it is optional. Delegation is necessary and decentralization is optional, right? Then comes importance of decentralization. Now बच्चे, importance of decentralization and delegation, more or less the points of importance are same. You can even use the same headings. And explanation में बस आपने delegation और decentralization word पे focus करना है. First is develop initiative among subordinates. When we pass the authority at middle and the lower level of the organization, it shows the trust and confidence of the top level management इन देयर subordinate. और इसकी वजह से बच्चे हम अपने subordinates में initiative develop करने की कोशिश करते हैं. They feel happy to give suggestions and all because they know the company is trusting us. Develop managerial talent for future. By dividing the work among all the subordinates, they will be able to solve the complex task also. हो सकता है in the beginning they will solve it slowly, but afterwards they can solve it independently. Beginning में उनको help की ज़रूरत पड़ सकती है, बाद में they will work independently and they will be able to they will become expert in the field and they can be the future managers also. Quick decision making. In decentralization process, decision making is not restricted in few hands, but it is entrusted to all the managers who are taking action, who are doing work in the organization. So decision making will also be quick. Relief to top level management. Yes, in the process of decentralization, because we are dividing the work, we are dividing the authority and responsibility, so the work will be passed on systematically. Alag levels we will divide the work, will share the responsibilities, and top level will be relieved from the overburden of work. Facilitates growth because we are giving more power, more freedom to the lower level. This will help them to work in a best suitable way for their department and they will try to develop their department. हर जो department होगा, they will try to increase the productivity of their department. Ultimately, अगर हर department अपनी productivity increase करेगा, it means we are increasing the productivity of the organization also. Last is better control. In decentralization, employees working at different levels take their own decisions. and they personally are accountable for their decision. They cannot pass the blame कि ये उसकी वजह से गलती हुई या उसकी वजह से हुई. It will be their decision, so they are responsible for it. Will exercise better control. Secondly, we can keep the control using a scorecard also, or management information system also, MIS system. In the scorecard बच्चे हम ये रख सकते हैं कि they will fill their performance on daily basis, how much work they are doing in one day, the other day, the third day, and we can keep a regular check on the working of the employees. So this is the importance of decentralization. So let's come to conclusion. In spite of its benefits, decentralization should be applied with caution and care, as it can lead to disintegration of organization if departments start operating on their own guidelines, which may be contrary to the interest of the organization. No doubt decentralization has its benefits. लेकिन जब भी आप decentralization को apply करोगे, you should be very cautious, you should be very precautive, क्योंकि अगर डिपार्टमेंट्स ने अपनी कोई गाइडलाइंस फ्रेम कर ली विच इज़ अगेंस्ट द पॉलिसी ऑफ द कंपनी, देन we will not focus on the organization, we will focus on their own department only. So it should be, decentralization should be balanced with centralization. जब आप policy making की बात करते हो, there should be a balance between centralization and decentralization. Now the last topic is difference between delegation and decentralization. First is scope or parties involved. Delegation has limited scope because there are two parties involved, manager and his immediate subordinate. And in decentralization, it has wider scope because it involves all the persons working at different levels of the organization. Then comes significance status. Delegation is important function, but it is a routine function. And decentralization is more significant, but it is a one-time decision. It depends upon the policy of the company. Freedom of action. In the process of delegation, manager passes the authority and responsibility to subordinate, but he keeps a continuous check. Continuously freedom इतनी ज़्यादा नहीं होती. And decentralization में there is more freedom with the employees. Scope, it has narrow scope. Delegation, decentralization has wider scope. Responsibility, delegation is the responsibility of every manager. Decentralization is the responsibility of top level management. Delegation में हर manager अपने subordinate को work divide करेगा. Decentralization में top level managers will divide the work among all the subordinates. Nature or essentiality, delegation is compulsory, decentralization is optional. Purpose, it reduces the burden of manager. Delegation and decentralization का purpose होता है development of the future managers. Grant of authority, authority is granted to by immediate superior देता है authority delegation में, and the top level gives authority in case of decentralization. Then comes difference between centralization and decentralization, the last topic of the day. Meaning, centralization means concentration of power in one hand only, that is high level. Decentralization means dividing the work or powers among all the levels of the organization. Authority at different levels. In case of centralization, top level has maximum authority, whereas in case of decentralization, systematic division of authority is there. Suitability, centralization is suitable for small scale or small size organization because वहाँ पे बच्चे काम कम होगा तो one person can keep all the powers with him. And decentralization is suitable for large scale organization. Freedom of actions, managers have less freedom in centralization and managers have more freedom in decentralization. So this is the difference between centralization and decentralization. By this, we are completed with this chapter number 5, organizing. Go through the chapter, read the chapter properly, practice MCQs given in your book, practice the case studies, and we'll continue with our next video soon. Till then, take care.